Today, I'm bringing you the almighty finisher guide. The Rapier build that melts enemies so fast they won't even have time to hit Alt F4. We're covering stats, perks, secondary weapon, best in slot gear, everything you need to know to turn dungeons, Wyrm, and Gorgon into your personal playground. I'll show you how to ramp up your damage numbers, break down some filthy combos, and at the end, I'll reveal the best in slot setup that makes this build downright illegal. Before we dive in, smash that like button, subscribe, and maybe even join the Goblin Club, brothers. You get cookies, a shiny badge, and you can make me do whatever you want on stream. Now, let's get straight into it, boys. Finisher. First, the bread and butter of the build, that thing that will carry us through every content in the game. What do you put on this beauty? You want to put on Poison Nectar. The Stain Infliction increases our dots by 15%. This is massive since primarily our damage is dot based. Next up, what gem? The diamond. Because I know you're shining bright like a diamond, just like our damage will be when we slot this bad boy in, as it increases our damage by 15% when our health is full. Next up, our secondary weapon. I'll cover all those options later because there's a plethora of them. For heart runes, you mainly need 2. You will need more depending on the content you are doing, but I'm going to go over the main 2. You have Detonate. Here, this is just for more damage. Vines is very strong as well, as it roots certain mobs in place, allowing you to clean up the trash much easier. Very useful on Gorgon boss number 2. But if you are doing Wyrm, you will need this heart rune right here, Stalwart Heart Rune Firestorm. These are the exact perks you need. I am a Wyrm enjoyer, so I did need to actually grab this before I was allowed in. Yes, I too, in fact, will sometimes grind PvE. It's a crime, I know. Let's jump over to amulets. Life for amulet's solid, but there is a better option. The best perks in the game for your amulet is a protection perk, completely dependent on the content you're running. You want health and empowered. You'll be farming amulets that have protection perks like more than Thanos is trying to collect the Infinity Stones here. Better start grinding. That journey is long and hard. Next up, for rings. I always recommend having the Blood Drinker on you if you're doing a pub in a dungeon, simply because those healers, well, they play with half a hand, their last brain cell, soaking in the alcohol. It's rough out there. This keeps you off the floor. I don't want you to be 6 feet under. For Wyrm and Gorgon though, it's banned. You're not allowed to use this baby. So what do you actually run then? Well, I would recommend running a damage perk, Thrust, Bloodletting, increases your bleeds, and you run either Leeching or Hardy here. I recommend Hardy as that third roll. It can come in clutch. I like to be a roly-poly-oly. It's very useful. For your earring, I recommend Life Loops, a very solid option. Healthy Toast, Refreshing Toast, and you want Empowering. Empowering is a absolute must on your earring. It is the most important perk, simply because 10% extra damage. That just increases our damage numbers, but who doesn't want free damage? Like a Happy Meal, boys! Combined with our Empower perk from our amulet, this 8 seconds turns into basically 100% uptime every time we're guzzling a potion faster than my hairline is receding. Please send help. Now it's time to jump into that juicy armor, boys. Alright, armor. Weight class has to be light. That 15% increased damage is a must. Plus, who doesn't like rolling around like a hamster? I know I do. Next up, what is our artifact of choice? Well, there is technically 2 you can run for this setup. You have a Toon Leather Pants. This will give you plus 11 attributes to all your goodies in your bag. But there is another option, and that is Nimble Coat. The beauty right here reduces our max cooldowns by 8%. Finally, my sanity will be healed. What's the main difference? Nimble Cloak is technically higher DPS if you're a pure Rapier enjoyer, but if you like to use any secondary weapon in your back pocket, then I would say slot a Toon Leather Pants, since that gives your secondary weapon more damage overall. But let's get into the armor and perks now. For the number 1 perk, you always want to have Enchanted Ward on everything. This thing is like your lord and savior. Think of this as like a tiny shield around your body. Every time you get hit, that shield absorbs the damage, saving you from the mistakes you're going to be making in the future. And I know you're going to be making a lot of them, but don't worry, I'm here to help you through that. Next up, you always want to have Refreshing. Make sure this is stacked 4 out of 4, as this perk can be a lifesaver. This increases our overall damage significantly with the Rapier, so you need to have 4 out of 4 of these. Next up, after you're maxed out on Refreshing, get the Health perk. This once again gives you a bit of a buffer for when you face tank the Wyrm sweep, and it sends you flying into the abyss, and there's 5 guys waiting for you at the end of the portal. I don't want you to be there. That is traumatizing. So we are here fixing these problems. After that, make sure you have omnidirectional evade. This one increases our damage by 7%, as you can see there. A must for our overall DPS. Next up, make sure you have the flurry perk. You heal for 25% of the damage, but that's not the main attraction here. It's that 0.5 seconds of invulnerability. When you get good at using this, you can now dodge through mechanics just by actually doing DPS. That's a win-win. I get to live and make a boss question his life decisions. Who wouldn't like that? For the correct setup for a light setup with a medium, attune leather pants is 1 medium legs and the boots, or I believe the helmet. And for the nimble cloak, it's just light everything but the chest piece, which is medium. Now we got the armor cover, the weapons, the jewelry. Let's talk about gems and consumables, because it's time to get higher than a kite. And while you're flying high, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe so I can fly alongside you. So now let's get into our gems and consumables, and later on our attributes. I know you can cheat down here in the bottom left and see them, but don't worry. There's 2 sets of attributes you need to know for this build. Make sure to stay tuned for that. 1. Gems. These are completely dependent on the type of content we are running. To break it down very simply, you have mutated expeditions, smash activities, hit mutated, bam, we're here, click a dungeon, and on the top right, you'll see mutations. Enemies deal 50% nature damage. Yes, Mother Nature does in fact not love you anymore, but I still do, and I'm here for you. The mutation changes every week, and depending on the mutation, you'll have to change up your gems. Keep that in mind. For the Wyrm, always strike damage. That thing is full strike, baby. You'll need more protection than a full riot suit. So make sure you're suited up good. For the Gorgon, it goes strike / nature. The bosses damage in that order. So ideally, you want 3 amulets for Gorgon and switch them out on each boss. Now that we got the damage reduction done, dusted, let's go on to consumables. Consumables are very dependent on your content, but always make sure you bring in your juicy honing stone. I recommend tier 3s. These are way cheaper. We're not Jeff Bezos, boys. I know. We're living in poverty, and that's okay. This will save us a pretty penny. Next up, make sure you always bring your ward potions. These are massive, as these increase your damage absorption by a certain enemy type by 10% for 40 minutes. This is why Jimmy, who looks like an actual walking AI, is not dying in a dungeon and you are. You're not taking your ward potions. We know what Jimmy isn't taking? The infused human coatings, because these ones allow you to smack Jimmy's booty. These don't work in PvP, but they're essential in PvE. There is one for each given mob in the entire game. Make sure you have the correct one for the job. Next up, you can always bring your mana food if you're running a different build. The main one is bringing in your stat foods, such as the 44 if you're cheap, but if you're ballin' and you got those gold chains, scale to 48 food. Massive. You can also bring in a nice sunrise on the side. And this reduces dots by 25%, and some dungeons, well, they're pesky with dots. This one's huge. Next up, your potions. I recommend just bringing in health pots. These things are just massive, since usually you're not going to be surviving 2 hits in a row. So you get knocked down once, you get back up, pop a potion, you get knocked down twice. Well, now you're in the lobby spectating. I don't know how to help you. And also make sure you have mana potions on your bar. These are very useful for proccing that empower if you have some downtime. For shield potions. These are useful if you just can't dodge a mechanic to save your life. Shield potions have got your back, just like I do. That pretty much covers our consumables. If you are finding this video helpful, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, as I'm always going to bring you the best newer content. Now let's jump into the meat, the potatoes of the build, the weapon, the secondary weapon, and the attributes. Let's jump straight into our Rapier build. There's 2 more coming our way later on, so stay tuned for that. We got Flurry, the bread and butter, Evade, the main DPS, and Riposte, the secondary role that you'll be thanking later. The quick DPS combo is auto, evade, auto, flurry into autos. Use Riposte to dodge and avoid bosses' mechanics that I know will be slapping you harder than when Will Smith slapped that man on stage. For your secondary weapons, if you're a Wyrm enjoyer, the greatsword is a must in order to send this man packing. A one-way ticket to Pain Town. As when he does his stamina phase, this one is needed to send him back Shadowrun with instant regret. If you don't have the greatsword, you will be benched during Wyrm. Next up, for Hive of Gorgon, the final boss, range is a necessity. The musket, beautiful, melts enemies faster than my sanity while talking to other players in this game. This is the build I would recommend running, cured to perfection. What do you think, this one's good? Wait until I show you the Ice Gauntlet, as that one is a dark horse I think no one talks about. Well, bow is another great secondary option here. For the final boss in Gorgon, I wouldn't run exactly what I have here. Drop one of these dots for rapid shots here and make sure to max it all the way out. This will send that boss from a beautiful monstrosity into a beautiful monstrosity porcupine. It has to be layered with arrows. Now, don't rely on your teammates, boy, for CC because they're role-playing potatoes. And we don't want none of that in our dungeons. For dungeons, Great Axe is a solid option for pulling mobs, as I know your tank is a bigger disappointment than not getting a heal in the dungeon. Maelstrom, Gravity Well, and Reap are all very good. For this is just primarily used for crowd control, since I know you can't rely on your public teammates. Make sure you also always blame the healer when you die, as it's never your fault. Next up, Ice Gauntlet, the dark horse, and something a lot of people love using with the finisher, because you can drop Pylon, Ice Storm at the same time, and then switch back to the finisher and still be pumping out damage higher than your entire team combined. You can also then run Ice Spike here for a quick burst of extra damage, or Tomb if you're making more mistakes than I do when I talk to a girl. Now let's jump back to those two Rapier builds I mentioned earlier, as these are essential for completing our Rapier loadout. Here is our secondary Rapier build. We drop Riposte, and now we're running Flourish and Finish. This is the Bleed build, brought to you by one of the sweatiest PvEers I know on the game. Don't worry, we got time for one more build. This one is mainly for Wyrming Gorgon. Now I'm going to show you the dungeon build that you can run completely solo and not have to rely on those couch potato teammates that have been slowing you down. For our final form, the Blood Rapier build. This is going to send our teammates packing, as we don't need them anymore. You have Tondo, Big Bleed, Flourish and Finish, the one that closes out all our bleed damage, and Flurry are primarily way to deal big damage throughout the dungeon and dwarf our teammates' numbers. Red Curtains, Freshing Strikes, must. Cooldown reduction, letting you carry pubs and roasting your teammates simultaneously. Let me break down this combo real quick. If the boss doesn't have a big juicy booty, you want to lead with Tondo, Auto, Flurry, Auto. If your Tondo's up, you can go for one more Tondo into Flourish and Finish. Bam, the bleeds are procced, and you just continue the rotation until the boss has hit the floor. 350 dexterity, so we finally can use our hands, and someone will maybe love us. 200 intelligence, so we're not the dumbest kid in the class anymore, thank God. 25 strength, so we can still pick up household items, and that extra 5% light attack damage is very nice. 25 focus for ability cooldown, who doesn't love free abilities? And 28 constitution because I'm being held hostage. Please help. If the boss does in fact have a back, you want to switch these stats around to 350 intelligence and 200 dexterity. This will hit the key threshold of 10% bonus backstab and headshot damage, allowing you to melt the enemies like butter. If you are doing content that you are struggling with, such as M3s or Gorgon, if it's Wyrm, you're just going to be a floor tank no matter what you do. You just can't get hit by any mechanic. Rock 100 Constitution, as this is a lifesaver. Even when I first started playing the game, I in fact, yes, did make mistakes. Now, I'm perfect in every way. Don't criticize my gameplay. But as you get better at the game, you can slowly drop this from 100 to 50, and even all the way down to the 5-con rats once you're min-maxed and in a good group, and you have enough weekends in the dungeons to rock and roll. Now, I'm going to show you a live demonstration of the build, and then I'm going to jump into the best in slot loadout, so you can just come back for a quick reference whenever you need it. Alright, for a quick demonstration, let's just open with Tondo, get him over here, got a nice 1v1, reap me in, Tondo, dodge that, hit our Flurry, Flourish and Finish, Tondo, Tondo again, and then once Flourish and Finish is up, just use it. Basically off cooldown. You want to always make sure your abilities are on cooldown, and you just want to weave in light attacks in between. This is the standard all the way blood build. For evade and the bleed build, those will play a little bit differently, as you do have access to this beautiful ability called Evade. Use this as survivability and iframing. Try not to dodge as much as possible, as you want to be using either Evade or Riposte to achieve your goals. Now let me break down the best in slot build you want to be running. Now, at long last, the final best in slot build. Enchanted, Refreshing, and Health. These are our 3 main perks that I mentioned earlier, and they are crucial, carrying us into that very late game. Leeching Flurry, Omnidirectional Evade are a must. Our Amulet, Health Empowered, and then whatever protection perk you can manage to grab on there. For the ring, I like Thrust, Bloodletting, and Hardy. You can switch out Hardy for something else, like Leeching, if you're feeling extra spicy. And the earring, Refreshing Toast, and Empowering Toast. Now, if you did catch something, I actually have too many Refreshing on this build, and that is simple. I'm giving you an option in order to switch out these Refreshings for extra weapon perks for your secondary weapon. So here we have 6 in total. You only can get 4. So you can drop 1 on your earring for an extra earring perk, or if you want 2 extra weapon perks for your gear, you just drop 2 of these Refreshings on your gear. Keep that in mind, as I just want to make sure that's perfectly clear. Don't run 6 Refreshing. I have it here just as a placeholder, so you know you can swap out 2 of these Refreshings for weapon perks. Now for our finisher, this is what our finisher should look like with the Stain Infliction and the musket, because I was mentioning the musket build the most. I like Flame Attunement here, but you can definitely swap this third one out for anything that you want. You can either run Keen for extra crit chance against the bosses that you cannot guaranteed crit. Just the third perk is kind of your flex spot. I personally just like Attunement. And for our Heart Rune, Brutal Heart Rune is the most versatile in my opinion, as this gives you just 20% more explosion damage. You can run Vines if you want instead. Either one works here. And with that, boys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If I helped you or made you laugh just a tiny bit or made your day a little bit better, smash that like button and subscribe. I'm going to become 1 in the Hall of Fame, and you'll be cemented in history books forever. You can make me wear a leash and I'll bark like a dog for you. Huge shout out to my early channel members and Twitch subscribers. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. Peace.